Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest edition of Adam's TV Podcast. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a special sneak peek of the upcoming season of American Idol, along with sharing our own open letters of advice to future contestants who are going to be appearing on the show. Today, I am joined by my co-host and fellow MJ writer, Eric Asher. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How is everybody? I'll go for the promo real fast because
we're starting that. We're going really right into it.
Well, might as well because it was literally a 2-minute trailer that was released back in January.
Can I just ask you about it? So, where did it air? Like, where did it come from?
Well, it was on YouTube back in January, but it was part of an ABC 30-minute, all the ABC sitcoms, TV shows, dramas, etc. They're doing a spring preview of all those different shows, and Idol was featured in the last 2 minutes, and naturally, Ryan hosted it. We'll see how he does at the Oscars. I'm hearing some things. But regardless of whether or not the trailer was new, I still think it was a good sign because despite not showing any singing, which annoys me, the trailer clearly was focused on the contestants, their stories, and less so the judges. And that's a contrast to the voice, and that's exactly what we need from Idol.
Were there any that really stood out? Was there anything about the trailer that really caught your eye? I thought you...
Other than the fact that it was a lot of contestants talking and not a lot of judges, that was the only thing that stood out to me, honestly. There wasn't enough singing. There wasn't enough of any one particular contestant.
What do you think about the panel, just out of curiosity?
I always like to hold judgment until we get to live shows because I love Steven Tyler at his first audition. So, and Britney Spears was great when she was edited too. So I don't judge anything until we get to live shows.
Okay. So before we get into our open letters, I mean, is there anything else you want to... Is that really pretty much all there is?
That's all there was to the preview. Sorry, okay. a little bit of a letdown, but
it was a bit of a letdown. I thought it was going to be a whole thing. So I just want to say that if anyone is interested in sending us questions for us to talk about during this live stream, you could tweet them to us, either me at Adam Soapbox or to you at Eric Asher, or you could use the what?
Eric _Asher. I'm a little complicated.
Or close enough. The ideal way that I'll be checking is you could use the hashtag Adam's TV Podcast, no apostrophe, just straight Adam's TV Podcast.
And we'll comment on this live stream, can't you?
What?
Can't people comment on the live
stream? Yeah, you could, whichever way you guys prefer.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is an open letter of advice to the future contestants appearing on the show. So I started my website, Adam's TV Podcast, and I talked about one of my first articles was an open letter to the American Idol producers for this reboot. And I had this other article that I just never published. It ended up being 10 pages long, and it's an open letter to future Idol contestants. So rather than shuffle through the whole mess that thing was, we're just going to, we're each going to share our versions of this topic. So we're going to go back and forth. We each narrowed our points to 5 each, and we are just going to discuss them, go through them, just straight up, that kind of stuff. And to start it off, Eric, you want to go ahead? You want to take the first one?
Might as well put me on the spot. Let's go ahead. You said you're going to go first. Anywho, so my first piece of advice is pretty much what everyone else would be, which is song choice is everything. So pick new songs. Pick songs that haven't been done before. Don't sing I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Don't sing Against All Odds. Check the website what not to sing. They're still up. Look it up. Don't pick something that's been done to death on these shows. Or don't pick I Have Nothing or I Have Nothing. Don't pick any of those songs. Don't sing a song just because you like it. If you like it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good song for you. I remember so many contestants, particularly season 13, were just brought down by just picking songs that they liked, but didn't fit them at all. So hopefully we get better song choices for contestants this year.
What kind of songs do you want to see? Do you want to see more reinventions, or do you want to see more new songs? Like what kind of new music are you hoping for?
That's sort of my number 2 point. So we'll get to like the reinvention thing later. But I think that new songs is good. I don't care when the song is from, as long as it's something we haven't heard a zillion times on these shows.
Okay, that's fair.
If that makes sense.
So I'm going to move on to my point, which is the number 1 point. It's become familiar with some Idol fan terms. So I assume that most people who are going to be on the show, most of them probably don't have much of an idea of the show, how the show works. There are a lot of people like us who are super fans, and there's been a bit of a lingo and some terms that have come about that we use on Twitter, on social media when we talk here. And I just want to go through some of those terms that you're going to hear thrown around a lot in the fan community. And if you learn them, you might be able to keep up better with some of the some of the viewers. So I just want to start with the first term, which is fodder. Eric, do you know what fodder is?
It means you're not going to last too much longer.
It's what you don't want to be. So I'm just going to read off my notes. These are contestants that are simply in the game to lose. They are seen as expendable, easy options for elimination meant simply to propel the producer's favorites a week further. They often are given poor direction and end up making bad decisions that lead to their early demise in the game. Just off the top of my head, some examples of fodder contestants were Karen Rodriguez, Paige Miles, and basically every single guy in season 12. There's only, of all the contestants who have been considered fodder, there's only one that I can think of off the top of my head that managed to break free of this box, and it is Haley Reinhart, who she seemed doomed to like an early exit, but she managed to turn it around and deliver some of the best performances of the season.
They never stopped treating her like fodder.
They never did stop. They never stopped treating. Also, you'll notice, by the way, with fodder contestants, they'll be talked down to a certain way by the judges, where they'll kind of give them the edit. We're like, oh, you did so nice. You look so beautiful. If you ever hear the term, you look so beautiful, most of the time it's a bad thing, just because they're looking for something other than your performance to bring up. So that basically covers the topic of fodder. Don't be fodder. If you are fodder, find a way to break out of that box. The next fan term that I think you should be familiar with is the death spot. This is the first performance slot of a live show. This is a bad spot to be assigned to, as it means you probably picked a fun opening the show performance that's really not going to be memorable. Honestly, if you get selected in the death spot, it's really telling that you're going to be in the bottom 3 in most cases, especially in the early round. Bottom 3 usually means you're going to be in the bottom. If you get the death spot in the early rounds, it means you're usually going to be in the bottom 3. As a rule on American Idol, you want to be performing later in the show. The later in the show, the more votes you're likely to get, because more people are likely to be watching the show. And also, if you find yourself getting placed in the death spot week after week, such as I think DeAndre Brackenstick in season 11 was, right? There's some people.
No.
Well,
I know that there are exceptions to this rule, but there aren't a lot of them. And most of the exceptions are when the voting is different. Idol, the voting always opens at the end of the show. So that makes it different. Like, I know on X Factor this used to be a rule too, but then they said, okay, we're opening voting at the beginning of the show. And that changed everything. So, but yeah.
I just feel like if you find yourself performing early in the rounds, early in the show,
happens, it means they don't like you.
It usually means they don't like you. And honestly, a lot of this can be traced back to your song choices. If you're someone who wants to do a lot of upbeat hip hop, like fun songs, they're going to put you early in the show because they think it's like an opening performance, and it might be fun and you might get some praise, but I feel like the slower, the building moments are always the better ones, which kind of leads me into the next point on my list, which is the pimp spot. And this is a term that means the last performance slot of a live show. It's the best one to be performing in, as you get the last day of the night. More people are likely to be watching you. And if you find yourself performing last, it usually means that you picked a certain song that the producers believe in you, that you can do something with this. that's going to it's the highlight of the show and it's the biggest draw. And honestly, off the top of my head, I don't remember like from the top 24 to the top 6. If you perform last, I don't think a contestant's ever gone home performing last in those between top 24 and 6. Am I wrong there?
I don't know enough about that, but that would be surprising. But I also wouldn't be that surprised by it because they plan it that way. So
the only one that I could think of was Siobhan Magnus, who was top 6, and she performed last and ended up going home. I'm just trying to say that you want to pick songs that will get you further, that will get you performing later on in the night, because stay far away from the beginning. And that's basically that term. I just have 3 last ones that I'll go through really quickly. I know I'm talking a lot.
You're fine.
So the next one is whatnottosing.com, and it is a website you should be visiting every week before you choose what songs you're going to perform. What Not to Sing catalogs every performance ever performed on Idol and assigns them a number grade. And the site is a great tool to see what songs are overdone and what songs have already had a mark made on them by a past contestant. If there's one thing that I could tell a contestant to do, it's to always be visiting this site before you choose your performance, because you need to know what's worked in the past, what doesn't, and kind of formulate your strategy from there. What do you think about What Not to Sing?
I think that obviously if someone's done a song and has had a moment with it, you should avoid it unless you're going to do it better than they did. And that's a later point on my list, but we'll get there.
Okay. So the last 2 really quick points. It's TPTB, which is the powers that be. And on Twitter, you'll often see that. This is pretty easy. This is just a euphemism for the show's producers. It's just a way to talk about them. And there's also TCO, which is the chosen one. Eric, you know what the chosen one is?
It is not usually the person that wins. The chosen one changes usually at Idol. At least it has the past couple seasons.
I was going to say a euphemism for the producer's favorite contestants that they want to see win, but they don't usually end up winning. Some examples are Clark Beckham,
Adam Lambert's
Adam Lambert. But sometimes the chosen ones do win, such as Lita Wise, who won. It varies, but
that's an argument. You could argue that top 3 night they wanted Lita to win. Top 2 night I think they wanted Crystal to win. But
I guess it's just a term, TCO. It's just the chosen one, and those are basically all the fan lingo. Those are all the fan lingo that I can think of. Eric, you want to move on to your next point?
Okay. So number 2 on my list is arrangements, which is to say you can say that you can pick songs and you can sing them the way they were sung every time. And you could still win, like Nick did in season 14, for the most part. But earlier on, and the more, I hate to say it this way because I like Nick a lot, but the more memorable winners, and I do love Nick, and he is memorable to me, but the peak winners of Idol, like David Cook, and he won because of Billie Jean, Always Be My Baby, and Hello, which were 3 songs that he completely flipped, did a new arrangement of, or a different arrangement of, and gave credit. And it gave him a big edge. Chris Allen beat Adam Lambert partly because of homophobia, in my view, and partly because of Heartless in the top 3 round. And I feel like arrangements, if you flip a song on its head and make it different, you don't have to necessarily pick a song that's never been done before. But I feel like the arrangements really matter on Idol. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I agree. I feel like a contestant is more likely to propel themselves further by being a creative user of the game, because the game has a lot of aspects that are against a contestant and out of their hands, and there are some things that are in their hands. They might not be able to choose what song they're doing, but they are able to pick how they're done. And I feel like I should suggest all contestants just checking out Postmodern Jukebox. There's a bunch of other kind of musicians who do
different arrangements of songs.
Different arrangements. I feel like creativity is a risk worth taking. I don't know if we're probably going to touch on this more later, but we can't stress the importance of being creative and trying to do something different, because I feel like I have more respect for a contestant that went for that risk and failed than stuck to a same performance, just in my opinion. I feel like
In
you should,
general, I do as well.
yeah. Even again, even if it sucks, it's at least you had the guts to go for it and try and do something different. At least you tried to do something unique. At least you tried to show us some of you. And I feel like that's something that isn't as prevalent on reality singing shows recently with The Voice, but Idol is a home where that stuff kind of can happen.
And hopefully it continues to happen. So what's your number 2?
So my number 2 is it's kind of a broad umbrella term. Well, it's not a term. It's social media. It's take the time to really connect with fans on social media and don't burn them with your political opinions. So in today's time,
LaPortia.
what?
Cough, LaPortia.
So as anyone who uses Twitter, I feel knows, the Twitterverse loves a witch hunt. We love a good villain. People on Twitter, some of them they love to have witch hunts to destroy a person's lives, and it's awful. It's absolutely awful, and I do not approve of people doing that behavior, but it's something that you need to be aware of that goes on in this show. So I feel I just want to say that you should use your social media wisely. If you are someone who might have a controversial opinion, if you have something that might burn some people, I would try and keep that to yourself until the show is over. I just want to say that I just feel like the Idol fan base is a very liberal-minded audience. So if you're not of that opinion, I don't want to sound like, I don't know how to really phrase this, but I wouldn't throw out controversial opinions while you're on the show, because it can and it will hurt your chances if you want to put something out there that might not, the main fan base will agree or won't agree. What do you think about this point, Eric?
I'm not sure the Idol fan base is liberal. I think it's somewhere in the middle, honestly. I think there's a mix of liberal and conservative people who watch Idol. And I think that your best approach is just to not talk about politics at all until after the show. Or if it's something you really, truly care about and don't care about losing votes over.
Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't I just can't stress this enough. Use your social media wisely. Don't go on rants about how you hate a certain group of people or something like that. Just feel free after you're voted off to go nuts with your opinions, but just if you want to win this show, keep it to the game. Don't go beyond that. Give it to someone else someone else who will be able to make smart choices just while you're on the show, so bad things don't happen.
Sure. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think that unless you care enough about something that you're willing to go home over it, which I don't think you'd be willing to do that if you're a good contestant on the show, personally. But what are you going to do? So my number 3 is sort of something we touched on a little bit already, which is to know your Idol history. And it's based, I say what not to sing is a great resource for this one. If someone else on the show has had a moment with a song, don't sing that song unless you ever know you can do it better or you can offer a completely different take. You won't do Natural Woman better than Kelly Clarkson. You won't do Mad World better than Adam. You probably won't do Billie Jean better than David Cook. So on, so on. Just pick something that, I mean, if you're gutsy enough to think you can do Natural Woman better than Kelly Clarkson, go for it. But know that you will be compared.
The line that I just keep thinking of right now is in Star Wars, where Anakin is fighting Obi-Wan, and he goes, "You will try, but you won't
beat it.
You could try,
but you know what? Go for it. If you think you can, go for it. But be prepared, because you will be compared to the original, or not the original, but the first cover of the song."
Okay. Anything else you want to touch on for that point?
That's it for my point on that one.
Okay, so for me, my next point is going to be this is more for people who make it to the top 24. So if you advance to that stage, first of all, congratulations. That's incredible. You should have a game plan going into the season, but be very fluid with it. You should plan your idol run before you appear on it. Just look at what not to sing, learn about the theme weeks, and try and craft a path through the maneuvering through those weeks. Hopefully, with a bunch of song clips. You should. I'm just trying to think. You should know what you want to do, but you should also be a little bit fluid with it. You should focus on trying to be different. You should, because the idol game is something that has a lot of twists and turns, and you should be able to have a few backup plans, because the songs you want to do, most of them are probably not going to be approved. So you should always have a plan B going into the game. Do you agree, Eric?
I'd say a plan B and a plan C. But other than that, yes, I agree 100%.
Okay. Do you want to move on to your next point?
Yep. So my number 4 sort of, again, ties into that a little bit, but just have a plan, which is to don't do the same thing every damn week. Unless you're Scotty McCreery or someone with a similar level of hype from your producers, it won't work for you. I mean, I hate to bring it up again, but look at Adam. He'd pick a fast song, then a slow song, then a fast song, then a slow song. He changed tempos. He flipped songs certain weeks. He did slow songs. He did up in your face slow song. He didn't do the same thing every week, and every performance felt different somehow. And you don't want to go into like, oh, every song sounded the same.
Okay.
You don't want to fall into that trap.
I hear what you mean. I agree. Should I move on? Should we go on to my point?
I'm good with number 4. What's
Okay.
your number 4? What's your number 5?
My number
4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is this is going to be, I feel like we're going to get into a bit of a debate here, but my number 4 is don't give production an opportunity to screw you over. So this is a little hard to do and a little hard to predict, but I feel like you should be smart whenever cameras are on you. There's something that always happens on the show that I've always noticed is a contestant is like staring at the camera and they go, okay, my name is da 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 da. I'm from, and then they go, oh, I messed that up. Can I restart? And they always show on the actual show the person messing up. So that's just an example to what I'm trying to say is be smart when the cameras are on you. If you disagree creatively with a staff member, don't talk about that when the cameras are on. You should never, if you have a creative differences, try your best to wait until the cameras go off before you try and bring that up, because production loves to make a villain. I think we've seen this with Quentin Alexander. We've seen it with a bunch of contestants where they love to villainize them. They love to paint them as a diva. They want to paint them as something that isn't going to win, because producers have a favorite that they want to see go as far as possible into the show. And they will try and bury everyone else who's trying to gang up or reach that point. If you want an example, look no further than Haley Reinhart, who is a perfect example, where they wanted to send her home. They didn't want her around. And they were
send her home 5 weeks before they actually got to send her home.
And also,
yeah, totally agree on that. But that's my number 5. So you finish yours and then I'll talk about it too.
I just for this point, I have always listen to your gut and block out suggestions of the producers, especially if they become overly insistent. I've heard some of this behind the scenes, but if a producer is really pressuring you into doing something, it's usually a bad thing. If they keep hounding you, it's more of a reason to tune them out. Don't let the producers dictate your run. Make your run your own. Don't be afraid to push back against their influence, but also be wary of what you say on camera at all times. They can, like I said, they can and will turn the edit on you should they see you in the way of their chosen ones. So just be smart. Know that they aren't on your side. When you're playing this game, there's gonna be what?
Unless they are on your side.
unless you're the chosen one, which
assume you're not.
Assume you're not. Always assume you're not the chosen one. Just again, just be aware of what they do. The producers are trying to create a show. They're not trying to, in most cases, they're not trying to make you win. They're trying to create a show. So they will try to stir things up that might cause drama, and I'm talking too much. What do you think of my point?
Okay. Hopefully it was just my end where the video kind of cut out a bit there. But
Oh,
I'll say that my example is Clark Beckham for why not to talk back to a judges and mentor of producers is how I phrased it. He was sailing to victory in season 14. Everyone assumed he was the chosen one. Then Scott, right around top 4 week, I think it was, Scott basically said you'll be performing at a hotel. And Clark I'm pretty sure Clark had some sound bites in that VT that weren't so great either. And so VT is video introduction, basically, is what I mean by that. So my view is if you're going to basically what you said, if there's a camera in front of you, don't be stupid. Don't say anything that you're gonna regret. Don't assume that the producers will treat me well. Assume that they want you to go home this week. Play the game like that.
Eric, I just want to share some breaking news.
Yeah.
We have our first ever commenter on our video. I just want to give a shout out to Shannanoid, who said hi. And she said, I'm so happy American Idol is back. So thank you for joining us, Shan. You're awesome.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. So is it my turn? Do you want me to?
I went for 5, so you're on your last one now.
I'm on my last one?
And then we'll do honorable mentions.
Okay. So this is my last point, and this is actually something that I think you should really know about. This is one of the most important points. It's except that the judges don't really care if you succeed or not. And I just want to say for those innocent viewers who think everything they see on the screen is how the show works, look away because I'm about to pull back the curtain and spoil your innocent eyes. I love this show, and it's something I love to watch, but there's a lot of it that is fake. The judges aren't going to really remember you from the 10-minute conversation you guys had 2 months ago. So when you go and you do your audition and then you show up in Hollywood Week, they have no idea who you are. You're basically a new person to them. And I feel like once you can acknowledge that the show is fake to a degree, you should learn to live in the moment and play the part that will get you the most votes. American Idol is a little bit like a TV. It's like a little bit like a scripted show where they want you to be a character, and you should try and figure out what that character is and kind of finesse it in a way that will help your game and also move you forward. So just again, play the part you were chosen to play for the cameras, and just try and be smart with the game. I feel like it's the most important thing that I can't stress enough is that the judges are mouthpieces. They're not really judges. They are a mouthpiece for the producers. What they say is really more so what the producers are trying to say, with some exceptions, of course. I feel that there's very few opinions that are their own. I mean, most of them, like, if it's a good performance, they'll stand up and they'll say, like, oh, you did a good job. But if they're going to criticize you, a lot of them comes from the producers. And I have this in my notes, and I just thought it was something I wanted to bring up. I honestly, a past judge, Harry Connick Jr., I doubt if I went up to them and asked them, can you name 3 people from the last season of American Idol you judged? They would look at me and ask what show I'm talking about. They will not know who you are unless they have Idol's version of Littlefinger whispering the answers in their ear. What do you think about that, Eric?
I think that is definitely true for the most part. I think that some of the judges don't even know who you are when you're on the show. So I remember Paula reading her notes, and your second song was great, and the second song hasn't been performed yet. That was my favorite moment in Idol history, from a judging panel at least. And yeah, pretty much I agree 100%. The judges are not there to do anything but communicate what producers want to the public. And so definitely listen to them and don't fight back with them, because that'll
never fight back with the judges. Never. Because that is another reason that they are just going to pounce on you. Even if you're stressed, even if you're angry, just don't say anything back to them, because
you see,
we love a villain. The show loves a villain, so don't.
I'd be horrible as a contestant on these shows, because I know that I can't. I'm a bad fake smiler. So,
But brush
but
up on your fake smiling.
what?
That's another point. Brush up on your fake smiling.
Yes, that's another good point. Um, so honorable mentions now. We'll do like a sentence for each of them for
Sure,
mine.
whatever.
Um,
Unless you want to talk a little bit more about them, but whatever.
um, none of them are really significant enough to go into detail on. Um, well, one of them you already said, spend a lot of time on social media, interact with your fans, make them feel invested, and they'll work hard for you to win. Also, don't turn them off by talking about politics, as we said. This is a very simple one. If the judges give you a harsh critique, don't say, "Well, I had fun."
Yeah,
That's great, but it's not what matters. What matters is that everyone at home and in the room and everyone else enjoyed it. You are not performing just to have fun. I hate to say it.
it's a nail in the coffin.
Afterwards, you can have perform to have fun, but if
Yeah.
you're performing to have fun, you're performing to yourself.
Yes. Don't say. Well, at least I had fun because that's never ended well.
Mm-hmm. That's your way of saying, okay, bye everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I'll see you in my hometown pretty soon because I'll be going back there. And that's my honorable mentions. And like be prepared for theme weeks that don't suit you at all because
Yeah.
unless Idol is smart and they get rid of all the theme weeks this year, we're coming.
Okay. Just piggybacking off what you said, there's a former contestant, Jax. She did a song. It's called La La Land, and she said something along the lines of, "Everyone's a winner," said every producer, and that's exactly what you should be thinking of when you're playing this game. Know that no one on that show is your friend, and well, I mean, you can be friends, but just play it smart. And going into my honorable mention, it's learn to recognize and ignore bad advice. This is something especially important that I've heard from countless people who have been on the show, and they are given bad advice by producers or their friends, and to know that I know this is really ironic coming from someone like on the internet who's totally unqualified to be giving you advice for a singing competition. But anyway, just go with your gut, because if you try and play someone else's game and it sends you home, that you how do you even like move on from that? At least just ignore the advice from production, go with your gut, and try and be as smart as you can. Just go with what makes sense and don't play the producer's game. Play your own game.
I would say that within moderation, that's correct. I feel like you can take it too far though. Like with Clark Beckham, as I said, he he basically only wanted to do what he wanted to do it, as well as how they edited it. And the way they edited it was that he wasn't listening to production, and that wasn't good. So I'd say within reason, you should definitely. I mean, I actually feel like as Nick in interviews basically said like I would do a give and take with Scott Borchetta, and like he would pick one song for me. I knew it would be great, but I would do it because I'd be working with him in the future, and then I'll pick a song that I really want to do next week. So give and take, but if something's really bad, say no.
Yeah, just continuing. Just ignore everyone's advice unless it's coming from us two, because we know this. Is what I'm saying. Everyone else is just assume, unless they're Scott Borchetta. Well, actually, don't listen
He's
to
not
Scott
back.
Borchetta.
He's not back.
Well, even if he is somehow back, if he somehow jumps over the wall and shows up there, don't listen to him. He is trying to screw you up in most cases. I just have one last honorable mention I want to bring up, and that's always perform as if it's your last performance. Don't pick songs thinking this will make next week look amazing. Always go into the performance thinking this is it. Just play balls to the walls. Don't assume you're safe, is what I'm just trying to say.
I would
Always
definitely agree
play.
with that one.
Always play as if this is it. Just I feel like it's just a smarter way to go about the game. Do you agree?
100%. That not only will give you a better chance of capitalizing on your success if you do go home, and it will also give us all a better show to watch. And everyone's performing like this is their last shot. So
So that's actually our open letters. Anything else you think you want to bring up? Any random notes?
That's my open letter. I'm just really excited for next week's premiere.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Go on. Sorry.
yeah. So next week we will probably be going live within half an hour after the show ends. Is
Yep.
what we talked about, and I am super excited. To our commenter, I hope there's more than just one of you. If there's not, that's fine too. Tell your friends, tell your Twitter followers. We're going to be live after the premiere, and we're going to go over what we think of the judges, what we think of the contestants. Hopefully, more what we think of the contestants, because again, if we wanted to talk about the judges, we'd be watching The Voice.
Yes.
So I'll
So,
dig there.
so again, next week, next Sunday, I think the show's over at 10. So we'll be live 10:20, 10:30, maybe give or take something. We'll be breaking down the contestants. We'll also be talking some spoilers. There's some spoilers out now. Some people are sharing some breaking news. Don't want to say anything more if you don't want to hear them, but we will be talking some spoilers. We'll be dividing the show up so that there will be a point where we'll say something like, okay, spoilers, and then we'll break into who from the show has advanced to the top 24. We'll also be talking about some different kind of things, like what our favorite critique of the night was, who maybe didn't deserve to advance, that kind of stuff. I'm actually really excited. These have been building up to this episode, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to do this season.
So am I. It's going to be really fun, and hopefully the show doesn't suck.
What are your hopes for the season? Just out of curiosity.
My hope is that, honestly, my hope is that the season does well enough that they can come back.
Do you think it will?
I'm in reserve judgment. I hope it does. I really do.
If it does, it's all Katy Perry's fault. If it doesn't,
if it gets canceled, yes. If it's canceled, we all blame Katy Perry.
It's always going to be Katy Perry's fault. She ruined our favorite show.
Well, she blew up the budget at least.
I hope. Oh, here's another note that I totally forgot for the contestants. Bring your own lunch. That's what I'm just going to say. Because you are going to have no food on this show because the entire budget is gone. There's going to be nothing. So pack your own snacks. And I hope you like Funyuns. Yeah,
pretty much. Well, it's been great.
It's been great. So thank you all for joining us. Just if you want to follow us along, if you thought we were funny or something, I'm Adam Soapbox on Twitter and Eric _
Asher on Twitter. And thoughts.ericasher.com for a couple blog posts that I write occasionally. So, and yeah, see you all next week.
I just want to really quickly. I have my website. It's adamstvblog.wordpress.com. It's going to be changing up in the coming days, though, into something more professional because it's a little childish. But there's going to be song requests and suggestions and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys at the premiere unless we come up with an idea of something we want to talk about earlier or if there's some crazy breaking news. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. It's been good. Take care.
See you later.